Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about the forgotten elemental reaction, Crystallize. Wow, Crystallize. You know guys, Crystallize has been part of the game. But just to make it short, Crystallize is a EM scaling reaction, right? So reactions like Vape, EM, and the new Dendro, basically they all mostly rely on EM, right? So basically, that's how it goes, right? So vape and melt. Vape basically just doesn't really need EM because it's a mostly just flat multiplier. These are the second one is the overload superconduct. These mostly are just transformative reactions, right? And the third one is just a bonus damage for Dendro and Electro. And the last is the forgotten Crystallize. If you play Geo units like me, I played Ying Wang, I played Zhongli, but they are very good characters. If I say so myself, you can clear the abyss with them, but the reaction is just very much forgotten. You know, you would have expected that with the addition of the new map, new reactions, we should have something updated for that Geo, right? Having the ability to make a shield from a combining element is just very much unutilized, right? Even if they add an artifact like that, which they already have an artifact that mostly benefits from performing crystallized, and it's the Archaic Petra, right? It is extremely still useless because collecting crystallize is such a bother, but that is also could be countered by having a character like Goro. But the thing is, it's still such a stupid mechanic, right? First, let me show you the artifact. So, Archaic Pecta. So, you gain a bonus 35% damage. This actually is extremely strong. You actually get a lot of damage from this. Since if you have a you're obviously not a Geo, you have other characters, you're just adding a flat out damage bonus. And damage bonus percentage is better than having an attack percentage bonus, right? It buffs your stat, but this one just buffs out the overall damage of that certain element. The thing is, you have to collect it if you have no Goro, and it's very hard to utilize against certain enemies and certain team comps that has elemental element other than one element. So since here I'm basically using two element, which is a pyro, crystallize, and creating a fire shard is fairly quick, right? But with other, if you have one Geo just for that crystallize and other elements, if you messed up, it's going to be extremely bad for you, since you just had a fire damage bonus out of nowhere. If your main DPS is a cryo unit, right? But that's a waste of shard, waste of rotation, and something you don't want to happen. Anyway, the thing is, it scales with EM. Obviously, it should be something worthwhile. But instead, no. It's a damage absorption of shield created to crystallize. This is a big problem. Why? Because if you wanna have a shield from Geo, just use Zhongli. Okay? Why would you want to do that? You wanna use crystallize, artifact this, fine. You can use that. But is it worth it? No. Because you can just build something like a noblesse, just get a 30% buff for your team. But if your main DPS is overly has an over amount of attack, it's barely useful. So you can use other like instructor, but this is EM. It's also good, right? There are many alternatives for Archaic Petra. Okay, so it's not very good. And having a Geo unit that actually scales with EM is non-existent and probably shouldn't exist, because why? Why would you want to have that, right? Like, he just keeps getting shield, I guess. Why? If there would have been, it would have been Albedo, but it hasn't been Albedo because Albedo scales with defense. So no, no, and we'll never ever get that. Next is also because of the Mono Geo teams, right? If you are a Mono Geo, if you have played Mono Geo, they are actually very good, but the problem is they are not as good as the other teams, right? Like Vape or Melt Ganyu, not as good as those teams in terms of clear. So Geo feels like something that you have to build with the intention of mainly having defense. So, so what are we gonna do? Nothing. We can't do nothing about it. So this reaction is extremely underutilized or even used. Like if you are actually even wanna go for Archaic Petra, you don't need EM, right? Because you can have 0 EM and just get the Crystallize reaction and still get the 35% bonus, and you still get the 10 seconds even if you get, if the shield is destroyed. Like, also don't get hit, like just dodge. It's actually not that hard, although it's hard for other people, like for mobile, but it's still very stupid. And the most notable thing you can identify is that these are all damage. This all equivalents, this all equates into like dealing more damage, right? How come we cannot deal more damage with the reaction of geo units? Like how? So to answer this, they should just allow the Crystallize to absorb damage and release the absorbed damage by dealing the element absorb. So like if you like absorb a fire crystallization, after, if it get destroyed, the shield gets destroyed, whether that happen or if the shield expires, it will create an AoE explosion, right? Extremely simple. AoE explosion, it could be something like that. I don't know, it could be smaller, so you would have to be closer, but it's also actually smart, because if you have to be closer, the shield absorption, which is great, actually gets utilized, right? The shield aspect gets utilized by being able to tank, and it allows you to be more aggressive. Thus, em characters for em as stat for G would actually be utilized, right? So if my only is I could just use this, get the cryo, get the crystallize, and I can be more aggressive, if and don't care if the shield gets destroyed, and deal an AoE damage based on the element absorbed. That would be very smart in my opinion. So to end that up, the answer for that wish of hopium that I have is no, they will not happen. Or no, nor any changes for the geo reaction will happen. So we have been hoping for this for quite a while now. Geo has been stagnant, and the only thing that only give us hope is the resonance, right? This resonant here is great. I'm glad they added this. They decided to use their head and said, yes, I would like to make the GU fun, but not so fun, because they completely forget the most important fact that they have Crystallize effect, which is now freaking dead forever. Because why would you put EM on a character, right? Why would you wanna make a character that create Crystallize shield when you can just get a Zhongli, Diona, Toma, and any other newer shielder that we will have? So that's it. A dream is gone because of the news that they will not really add any reactions, right? For Dendro and Geo. So I mean, for Dendro it's fine. There are a lot of reactions for Dendro. You don't need a reaction for Dendro and Cryo, right? I don't really mind for that because they didn't really work for in the first place, right? Unless they want to use something like smart, like add a reaction like brittle, right? You just made the plants more brittle or cold. I don't really know, but I don't really mind because water plus cryo is freeze, and it all kind of synergizes in the end, right? Meanwhile, Geo and Crystallize, worst thing ever. Anyway, that's it. This is just a goodbye to the Crystallize reaction.